I feel as though this chapter of My Hero Academia showed a very huge flaw in Bakugo. Now, honestly, you could call whatever you want, whether you love him or hate him. Bakugo, a very angry character, of course. Like, he's clear as day a young version of essentially what Endeavor is in terms of being a hothead or whatever. But I feel as though something that was pointed out by Endeavor is a very huge flaw in Bakugo as a person, and something that I never really noticed. I never took it in that perspective up until Endeavor said, but it is true about Bakugo. Also, in this chapter, they were handling more of Deku trying to understand mastering his quirks, and Endeavor showcasing again his growth. So for the people that wanted to cancel Endeavor, the fans that pushed this mangaka and threatened him and all that stuff, yeah, I mean, like, look how much he's changed. Even his sidekicks say, hey, this is not the same dude. He only normally wanted to train his son, Shoto. Like, what's going on here? Huge plays in My Hero Academia. I want to say chapter 248. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but yeah, let's talk about it. So chapter starts off with Deku recapping of essentially how he's been behind everyone every step of the way. While people were learning to walk, he was learning that, hey, I got legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, he did. Like, it's clear as day. And we've known this for a while, of course, that he started off with essentially a major. He was handicapped to the competition. Like, while everybody already had been with their quirks for years upon years, he just had like a short summer of All Might training him to get the basics of understanding how to use, you know, One for All. So just reminding us that Deku has had it rough up until this point, trying to figure things out with his quirk. And then it didn't help because we see a flashback again, of course, of one of the predecessors to One for All saying, well, now you got 6 more. It's like, it's bad enough you just started off and you know, you're just learning this power that you just got not that long ago, but yeah, have fun figuring out these other 6, fam. And we see in this chapter just exactly why Endeavor does deserve the #1 spot of #1 hero, because he's doing the job. He's catching the criminals way before these kids can, and he's not breaking a sweat doing it. It's showing that he is really good at his job. So a lot of the things that the misconceptions about this character, yes, he's made terrible mistakes. He was abusive towards his family and all that stuff, but it's never too late for redemption, especially with a character like this. Like, it just shows he is not only a great hero, but even a great teacher, because he called out Bakugo in this chapter, and I was happy. I was happy because, again, I never really looked at this particular flaw with Bakugo. I've always looked at him as like, he's a hothead, he's an asshole, he's real mean, he thinks he knows it all and everything, but it seems as though Endeavor is the one person that can kind of put Bakugo in his place, because Bakugo, of course, is looking to get these teachings because he wants to surpass #1 and be great and all of that stuff, which I don't ever see him being #1, just being honest. Like, it's going to take Deku's death for Bakugo to be #1, just keeping it real. And I think that that's going to be a humbling experience for Bakugo at some given point. I mean, men aren't meant to be humble, they meant to be humbled. And I learned that from the Mike Tyson podcast, and ever since then that stuck with me, because that's so true. Look at me, while Bakugo is getting lessons from Endeavor, I'm getting lessons from Mike Tyson. I guess we all pick our senseis, huh? But Bakugo was told by Endeavor that you're making all these excuses, because Bakugo's like, yeah, you know, it's winter time, so it's harder for me to get adjusted and this and that. He's like, yo, you're gonna keep making excuses? And if you think about it, Bakugo always kind of has some sort of excuse, like, oh, you think you're better than me, it's just because this, it's just because that. Bakugo, I think that's one of the flaws that he's going to have to start getting out of. And Endeavor told him, like, yo, we're in the real right here, boys. We're in the big time now. This ain't a joke no more. If somebody dies, you can't say, well, it's because it was winter. No, they died. You failed as a hero. You're looked at horribly, and you messed up. So I think that was something that is going to help Bakugo get to, at some given point in the distant future in the manga, a more humbling space, that he's not just constantly always making excuses, but then at the same time saying he's better than everybody and nobody does it better than him. It's like, you can't have it both ways. Either you're the best and you're doing everything the best, or you're making excuses and you're really not the best. I mean, even like when Todoroki's trying to give him some advice and understanding, is like, you ain't understand nothing before me, but go ahead if you want to. Like, Bakugo, you still got a long way to go. And every time you open up your mouth, fam, you showing it. Like, this isn't a Bakugo hate video by any means, but it's nice to see that somebody is trying to humble this guy. I mean, he probably still thinks he's a shit, and it's interesting that, you know, going back to when he had his fight with Deku, the second fight where he beat Deku on that one, it probably didn't help him as far as character development. Maybe in a certain way, it showed him why, like, even though I beat Deku, why wasn't I the one that was passed One for All down to? But I think it didn't help him in a sense because he's like, yo, I beat the guy that's supposed to be number one. I'm going to be awesome. It took somebody like a similar person, Endeavor, to put him in his place and say, yo, stop making excuses. And you see Endeavor again, this just shows a lot. I think this arc is helping to shine a lot more on Endeavor, which again, I hope this isn't the My Hero Academia creator just being pressured by fans to just do everything he possibly can to redeem this character, because he's like crossing paths and, you know, stopping villains from going certain ways, all at the same time, again, bouncing back to these three and telling them like, hey, you know, teaching them essentially. Like, it's showing that Endeavor's a great hero. Endeavor, like, he got number one by default because All Might was forced into retirement after the battle with All For One. But nevertheless, Endeavor, he's pretty damn good. And to hear Bakugo call somebody else petty when Endeavor said, yeah, by the way, you know, the thugs with that glass guy, I knew about them as well. He's like, oh, so petty. Like, you're one to talk. The pot calling the kettle black. Like, what? And even after Endeavor saves the person from the truck, and again, he's breaking down things to Bakugo, he starts giving them even more advice, which again, I mean, the chapter was set up for the most part, I'm not gonna lie, it was exposition, just a training arc, essentially, which My Hero Academia is the king of training arcs. Like, and I thought Hunter x Hunter had that title, but man, there's a lot of training, because that's a lot of this is training, giving some more development for these characters, especially Endeavor, but at the same time, yeah, again, it's training, because he tells Todoroki and Bakugo the same thing. Y'all need to learn how to use the power that you put out in a proper way, so that way, obviously, you know, you could get on my level. Basically, one of the biggest lessons, I think, for all three of them he was trying to teach was about your instincts, using those properly. But that was more so geared toward Deku in this chapter, because Deku, problem is that he's trying to refine things too much. And the way Endeavor broke it down, to be honest with you, that's very, very smart. I never even thought about that myself, is that instinctively, when you do things like, for example, you drive in a car and you yawn, it's not like you're gonna go and crash because you yawned, right? Because it already became an instinct for you to drive and be able to do one more thing. So the way he broke it down in Deku, I think that's gonna be a very big breakthrough on how he can develop all his other quirks. If anything, this is great for Deku's constantly adding and learning more about the other quirks. Now all he has to do is continue training and subconsciously be able to do some of the techniques from, like, you know, the original powers from One For All, and then just add one more subconsciously so that next quirk can be added on. So Endeavor, great teacher. This chapter showed he's turned a new leaf. The fans that continuously keep going at Horikoshi for whatever because they hate that Endeavor is getting a redeeming arc, yeah, just stop. And I think that this also gave Deku a little insight into, because he worshipped All Might his whole life, you know, All Might fanboy, probably only second to Night Eye, because Night Eye was a pretty big All Might fanboy as well, but he always looked at him as he's the supreme hero, this is the way I should be. And I think being paired up with Endeavor this time around gave him a little insight into, well, I could learn lessons and kind of take some stuff from other heroes as well. I don't only have to be inspired by All Might constantly. And again, it just shows all around, like, this is so good for Endeavor's character. He put Bakugo in his place, taught Todoroki another small lesson. It wasn't really about Todoroki and Endeavor in this one. And taught Deku, again, a more valuable lesson on how to control his powers, how to instinctively, or basically to instinctively learn to use them. And it'll help when he got to put those 6 other quirks to use. And then at the same time, still being himself, like, yeah, make all the mistakes you want, you know what I'm saying? I'm still gonna do my thing. It ain't gonna cause me no trouble. Don't worry. Loved it. End of the chapter. Okay, cool. Todoroki's older sister calls it because she found out about Todoroki working and, you know, bringing his friends along with Endeavor, and it made her happy, and she invites them over for dinner. I'm imagining that's gonna go more, even further into this little domestic family issue, and possibly see where things are at with Todoroki's relationship with Endeavor. It would be interesting if they bring the mom from, you know, the home that they put her in for this dinner. That would be freaking insane. I would love to see it. But curious what you guys thought about this whole chapter. How do you feel about what was told to Bakugo? Do you think that that's going to help change him to be a little bit more humble? Because I think, again, he needs to be humbled. That's one of the things, and Endeavor looks like the guy to do it. Also, what do you think about Endeavor's trip and his quest again to redemption? Do you feel as though this chapter provided even more of that? I was very happy to see it. I think that it just shows more and more that even though he got the number one by default, he still deserves it. He still deserves to be number one. He's stopping all these villains. It's not messing anything up, and he's teaching these kids, and he's teaching them mad lessons. So real awesome with Endeavor. And what are your expectations for the next chapter? There's no chapter next week. Very, very disappointed on that. No chapter there on break. But how do you feel Endeavor family or the Todoroki family dinner is gonna go with Shoto's older sister. I gotta start calling him Shoto more because it's Endeavor Todoroki and Shoto Todoroki. So yeah, Shoto's older sister. Do you think that there's gonna be something to do with more of the family issue, more of, again, showing how much Endeavor's changed and how he's able to provide, or not even provide, but just be a good person for his family? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the My Hero Academia with chapter 248 and beyond. Again, no chapter next week, very big bummer, but My Hero Academia, it's slowly edging and leading the way to whatever it's coming in the future. The fact that Endeavor is going this hard to teach these kids when he don't want to teach nothing to anybody but Shoto, major changes and major stuff is coming damage to this series. But that's all I have for this one though. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links will be in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yeah, things is gonna get spicy in 2 weeks when the Todoroki family sit down for dinner and see where this relationship is at. Fans, stop threatening Horikoshi. Let Endeavor grow as a character.
Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride.